Escape from Tarkov's Hardcore Wipe has turned many of the oldest and most consistent game loops on their heads, and this has left a lot of players wondering how to progress or even be successful with their raids. So because of that, I've put together a list of some of the things I've learned that has not just helped me get through the Hardcore Wipe, but has allowed me to thrive as much as possible. And this is regardless of the crazy restrictive mechanics we have been introduced to with Tarkov's first Hardcore Wipe. Now we're not going to waste any time, we're going to get right into this. So first off, we're going to discuss some of the loot items you might be overlooking that are great for making quick cash. Something that isn't quite like it used to be, but is still important for you to be able to buy things like meds, bullets, and basic gear from the traders. Now, my favorite two that I like to point out to people are round pliers and the elite pliers. Both of these, they're relatively common. You find them all over, but they're one slot. And when you go to sell them to therapists, they sell for decent money. Some of the few things out there that's still over 10K, that's pretty common. So you're talking 12,000 for the round players, 13,000 for the elites. And if you don't want to sell them to therapists, if you want to sell, say, them to mechanic because you're trying to level him up, they still sell for decent prices to several of the traders. I'm clicking through here to make sure, but it's mechanic, therapist, and I think proper. Yeah, so you can sell them to those three guys and make decent money. Now, because of this, you should also take out yellow pliers, which I don't think I have any on me here. We'll pull them up. You probably know what they are, but we're looking at just the yellow-handed pliers because you can actually, in your hideout, turn these into round pliers with a very easy and simple craft. So while the yellow pliers might not be worth as much, you can't vendor them, you can very easily turn them into round pliers, and all you need to have is a master file set. And it doesn't burn these up, you just reuse these over and over again. But you can take yellow pliers and turn them into round pliers and then vendor the round pliers and make a little extra money. Basically, the yellow pliers are just like finding round pliers. Now, the next two aren't going to be hard to remember because if anybody's been playing Tarkov for a while, you've probably been pulling these out. But I want to bring them up again just in case people don't know about it, they're new to the game, or they might not think they're worth it this time around. And that is going to be condensed milk and sugar. I'll pull up the sugar here in the handbook real quick because I don't have any on me. But the packs of sugar you find all over the place. Now, the important reason is because, again, these sell for great money to therapists. The condensed milk is 11,000 and sugar is right about 10,000. It's a little bit less. It's like 9,600 or something like that, but still worth taking out compared to other loot. And you can also sell them to Jaeger if you're trying to level Jaeger up. He can be tougher than some of the others, but just keep that in mind that pretty much anything you can sell to therapist, you can also sell to Jaeger. He gives a little bit less than therapist does, but it's about the best way to level up his money for loyalty level versus like buying a bunch of stuff and selling stuff back to him. That works. It's one of the worst ways to go about doing it though, because you just burn a ton of cash, especially now with all the changes for the Hardcore Wipe. And the same of this applies for Olo vitamins. And I don't think I have any in here, so we'll just look them up. You're going to keep these anyways. You're going to find them. You're going to want them. But the Olo vitamins are a big deal because, again, they sell for over 10K to both therapist and Jaeger. So another good item. If you see it and you're looking for cash, it's a must-have. Okay, now the next trick is also a sell trick to make you a little bit more money, but also help you level your traders up. And this is kind of a mixed bag here, so you kind of got to pay attention to what you're doing. As you've probably realized, Scav Guns, most of them can't be sold to other traders other than Fence. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to buy a cheap one real quick just to kind of show you guys what's going on. We'll buy this one. 45,000, ignore that. That's not the point. I'm just getting the gun. Don't pay attention to what I paid for it. What's important is that I'm going to try to sell it. So if you're looking at 55 here and you go to sell this to Fence, he's going to give you 72.64 for it. Whereas if you go look at mechanic, he won't pay for it until we get over a certain threshold. Now, this threshold is weird. I don't know what's going on here. Sometimes it's 55. Sometimes guns at 54 will sell to mechanic. You can see here, I can sell that gun to mechanic at 54. This guy at 55, I can't. I haven't been able to figure out exactly what's going on here yet, but all you got to do is repair it a little bit at a time until you get it. And that's what most people don't realize is this little bar here, this little repair bar, you can slide this and you don't have to pay the full price of 13,000 to repair it. You know, if you want to just get this enough repaired to sell to mechanic. We're gonna try for 56 and see if it puts it over, which it did. So we paid what, 1,000 for that, and we can sell it to 10,000 to him versus what it was 6,000 or 7,000 I think we were paying defense. So you pay a little more to get the repair, you can make a little bit more money, and that's not the most important part here. The most important part is when you go to sell this to a trader, it actually increases their trader price. So if you're trying to level up your traders, instead of just blowing all your money and sending it at defense, repair your guns a little bit, and then you can sell them to skier, you can sell them to, so a lot of times you can sell to Jaeger, but it's skier, mechanic, and peacekeeper where you're going to be able to sell the most too, depending on if you want rubles or dollars. So if you're going for dollars or rubles, well, I'll sell it to skier here, you know, you'll increase his spent value here a little bit. And that's the whole point of this, is just to get that dollar value up. It's not so much to make more money because you're talking a couple thousand rubles. Who really cares about that? But when it comes to trying to level up your traders, that 10 or 15,000 each time you sell a gun adds up raid after raid after raid. Now, one thing with this, a lot of folks thought, including myself, that when you went to repair a gun, this cost counted towards the trader rep, and it used to. I don't know when they changed it. I don't know if it changed this wipe or if it's something that happened a while ago, but I've tested this 3 ways from Sunday. I've had other people check it. When you repair with a trader, this value does not go to their trader rep. So if I repair with proper, it does not increase his thing. It used to. It doesn't anymore. I don't know if this is a bug, if it's an intended mechanic, but right now, don't be burning up your repairs if that's what you're trying to do. You're just wasting money. Now, number 3 on the tips list, it's quick and simple, and it goes with kind of the idea of stash management, right? Like right now, my stash is pretty empty because I deleted my stash as part of that charity we did. But I know your stash isn't. Your stash is chocked full. And the rule is sell what you can't feed. And that's in the terms of weapons. So if you get an MDR or an SR25, but you haven't even unlocked FMJ yet, a 7.62x51 FMJ, let alone M80, it's probably not worth keeping the gun in your stash. You can convert it to rubles or dollars that you can use for other guns that you can actually feed, or just gear that's useful. And this will save you the headache and sanity of managing some parts of your stash of guns that are just going to sit there forever anyways. Now, number 4 is wallets. And this might not sound sensible to some people, but I'll explain it. You want to bring wallets into raid and keep them in your secure container till you can find cash. So let's say you're running around and you die, you don't lose your wallet. And, you know, if you find something better, sure, swap it out. But the big deal is as you've probably noticed by now, as you go through raid, if you want to keep your euros, dollars, and rubles, it takes up 3 slots in your stash. Well, if you have a wallet, that all condenses down to 1. So that's what I do, is I was keeping, well, I had a secure container, which I don't right now, again, because of the charity, but I was keeping a wallet in my secure container. Once I found cash, I would pull it out, put the cash in there, and it would just save those couple extra slots in my inventory, which do matter in this hardcore wipe. Whether you're looking for hideout items or other slots for cash, that 1 extra slot being burned up by like 38 euros just isn't sensible. So keep the ones in stash you need. They're not worth a ton. They're worth a couple of thousand rubles. So as you find them on scavs, keep them and use them and get that utility out of them. Now, rolling in number 5 is Scav Timers and cooldowns. Scav Timers are a huge battle at the start of every wipe, that you're always waiting on queues and the Scav Timer. But the hardcore wipe has only exacerbated this even worse. BSG did dial the timer, the cooldown from, it was 90 minutes down to 45, but you're still not going to be running scavs every 10 or 15 minutes like you used to. Right now, I have 1.67 scav rep, and at level 1 Intel Center, which that lowers my scav timer down to about 35 minutes. That's my cooldown between scavs. And that's just the first bit of info here. If you want your scav to be faster, first build your Intel Center, and then don't nuke your rep. Trust me, I know it's hard to not kill other player scavs sometimes, especially when they've got loot you want, or if they're stealing your stuff, or maybe they've got a backpack you need. But keep in mind that each whole number of your scav karma or fence rep that you increase, you know, if you go to 1 to 2.0 to 3.0, all the way up to 6, each one of those whole numbers reduces your scav timer by a significant amount. So the better scav you are, the more scavs you can run and the more loot you can get out of it. Now, also with this is queue times, and this is the product of how Tarkov deals with player scavs and servers and stuff like that. So understanding it is going to help you avoid long queue times as much as possible. When you start your player scav, when you start matchmaking and looking for a raid does not get created for you. Player scavs load into an already existing raid that were created for PMCs. This is the first bottleneck, and one that is worse now than it's ever been before. You see, some of the most popular maps for player scavs are also maps that don't have a lot of players on them right now. Players aren't queuing into Lighthouse or Interchange or even really Streets all that much because there haven't been a lot of tasks unlocked yet for those. Now, as the wipe progresses, this will get better. And as at least of making this video, we don't have any tasks there. So what you have is way more player scavs trying to load into maps that don't have many raids being created for them by PMCs because the player counts are low on those maps. That means very long queue times for two reasons: lots of scavs in line and very few raids being created. Now for me, I rarely sit for over a minute in matchmaking on customs as a player scav, and the same thing for factory, and even shoreline is getting better and better because more and more folks are running it just simply for loot, and there's a couple of tasks there. But until we get some ragman tasks on Interchange and the big chains on Streets, you're going to end up waiting longer on those maps. For me, I'm waiting. I won't wait over 5 minutes. If I hit 5 minutes on matching and I don't have into that map, I'm backing out and switching maps to one that I'll get in quicker. And that's what it boils down to. If you're going to wait 15, 20 minutes to get into a scav when your scav timer is already 35 minutes, you're only running one scav an hour. Whereas if you're just getting it out, you're running two scavs an hour, and that does matter. And the next one has to do with the wiki and a useful little tool for that. Now, when you're in your hideout and you specifically need something for an upgrade, right? Like I'll go to generator 3 and I need electric motors, or maybe you're trying to do your vents and you need batteries or a wrench or something along those lines. The utility of the wiki is so much better than waiting on RNG. So quite simply, you pull up the wiki. If you need something, it's really simple. Let's go look at car batteries, right? You type in car battery and you go to the car battery page, and down at the bottom-ish here, it's going to tell you where you can get them from quest rewards. So database part 2, spa tour part 4, gunsmith part 4, and no swiping will all give you a battery, something you don't have to lug out a raid. And it sucks when you do this and you're like, oh man, I got that battery. I could have used that a day ago because I was looking for it and I didn't have to drag one out of raid. So if you are tight on items, it doesn't matter if it's this, light bulb, screws and nuts. Before you're grinding in trying to find these items in raid, double check on the wiki and make sure there's not a task that you're close to doing that might be easier and get rid of a little bit of that RNG that you're dealing with when it comes to finding items in raid versus just having a quest that's going to 100% give it to you when you complete it. Now, next up is melee weapons and never bringing one into raid unless you absolutely have to. Me, I never bring one into raid. My sheath is always empty. And the reason is because when I find stuff in raid, I can bring it out. It doesn't matter if you die. Knives act like kind of like a secure container. So you get it even if you die. And there are some awesome barters, particularly I keep these A2607 black handled ones and these bayonets because it's a great little barter for a ump. And you can do that again. There's another barter for the MP5 as well as the PT26R. But even if you don't find those melee weapons, if you're getting crowbars or some of the axes, things like that, they do sell to Jaeger. He's the guy that buys melee weapons. And even if you die, you get out of raid with it. And it might be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get 1,400 rubles. Who cares? Well, when you times that over 100 raids, or 50 raids or whatever you're at, that's quite a bit of money. Plus it helps raise Jaeger's loyalty level, money spent that you have to have here. So just a piece of information, keep your sheath empty. First scav you kill, grab his melee weapon, and then just upgrade as you go through the raid if you need to. Okay, now the next one is a talk of intrinsic value versus monetary value. A lot of us are programmed to the flea market and what loot sells for the min-maxing, all of that stuff for the highest value, because all you need to do is get money and then you could just buy whatever you wanted off of the flea or the traders. That's gone now, at least for the time being. And intrinsic value versus monetary value is a huge consideration. What I mean by this is if you have to choose between, let's say, a pipe wrench that sells for 60K to therapist, or your last hose you need to upgrade your lavatory, you have to decide which is more important to you. That's 50 or 60K rubles or that upgrade of your lavatory. The money and the upgrade are your decisions now. And this is going to come across in so many different items out there. Some items you're going to have to make that choice between whether you want the rubles or the utility or some of the stuff for a barter, things like that. And this is super important for how you run your raids. You will be way more successful if you go into your raid with a focus. Am I going to loot just for money this raid and sell everything for cash? Or am I going to go in for specific hideout items or quest items? Or are you just there to try to focus on a quest itself? And this is into tip number 9, and it's focus. Stay focused and don't try to do too much each individual raid. If you're going after scav kills, don't spend your time looting areas while the scavs are being killed by everyone else on the map. And likewise, if you're after making money, don't pick up things for your hideout or go chasing shots. And keeping focused does 2 things for you. First, it keeps you from going to places that aren't necessary. And this will increase your chance of survival because if you're not traveling to more locations, it's less likely you're going to run into players. And then the second one here is it keeps you from filling up on stuff you don't need yet. I can promise almost every one of you has a stash stuffed to the gills full of items you might not even need for 2 weeks or a month, and you don't have room for everything you do take out a raid right now. So you're having to make tough choices because you've got a rig full of random items for your Intel 3, which you might not see for another month. So by staying focused and picking only the stuff you need, you kind of avoid some of that stash overflow. Now, number 10 is very, very specific to the hardcore wipe now, and it's keys, keys, and keys. For me, there are static spawns that I have found where in a normal wipe, I find maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 times throughout the entire wipe. And for example, we'll talk about the cottage key on Shoreline. I have now found that key 5 times this wipe just running my scavs. And it is a static spawn, the one on the blue barrel. So keep your eyes peeled for keys you need. The wiki lists all of the static spawns for quest keys as well. So if you need to get into, say, dorm room 2 or 3 or resort West Wing 112 for quests, check the wiki for those specific keys because their fixed spawns are way more common and you'll have way more luck that way than trying to find them just randomly in jackets. Now, I am working on a guide for specific maps and the static key spawns to help out. So make sure you're subscribed for that. You're subscribed to the channel so you see that when that comes out. Now, the next bit is going to be the search tool. And I can't, again, because my stash has been reset here, I can't really do it justice, but I'm going to show you some of the stuff in here that you might not be aware of. Yes, you can use it specifically to find a specific key. See, I think I have RBVO or something. RBV, yeah, so RBVO, you can just, if you know the key name, it might be a numbered key, right? Like you might be looking for 214 or 216 or whatever it might be. And you can find that specific key. But you can also do category if you want to see all your keys or all your food or all your meds. I use this one a lot because I can just click on the med tabs and then drag over the meds that I want to use, and I don't have to sit there hunting, searching for them. But again, it's also, I've only got 1 key, so it's not there, but you can see all of your keys. And for weapon parts or magazines, you can type in, for example, 556, and anything that's 556 in its name will come up. And that works for 545, it works for calibers, it works for bullets, it works for the weapons. You can type in M4. Well, maybe not. I don't have anything to show you there, but you can, as you see, use your imagination, but you can get these different categories and help you find items you need, which is huge in the hardcore wipe because you're usually just scrapping together stuff that you can find. Now, for number 12, it might seem really obvious for people, especially discussions, but it's always worth mentioning this stuff for newer players that might not understand. Arena is insanely helpful for a hardcore wipe. The cache and cases from Arena will give you a huge boost, even when you're down in Tarkov. The cache is helpful, but the crates and the GP coins are the real lifesavers. The crates will end up giving you armor and barter items and lots of other useful stuff that you can get out of those cases for your hideout or for gear. But the GP coins also provide a chance to get some cases long before any other trader. So Ref 1 doesn't really have any cases, but Ref 2, which isn't difficult to get at all, has tons of cases for you to barter from and get much earlier. You know, you can't start getting magazine cases for quite a while with mechanic. Ammunition cases are few and far between until you get some tasks done. I can't remember the ballistic plate case. You do get one in a quest. Key cases they're there on Therapist. You know, you can see them there, but it's 917,000 rubles or some kind of crazy barter. Oh yeah, military battery, Gingy keychains and wallets. That's pretty tough stuff. So get some GP coins and just do a barter with Ref and get what you need. And this goes into the whole idea of barters as a whole, which are lifesavers. I'm going to do a whole video or maybe several videos breaking down barters, which ones are good, how to use them, where to find the items. But we'll go through each trader and I'll offer you at least one that are worth a mention for this video. For Proper, at level 1 is his armor. This thing, you get a propane tank and you get a class 3 front plate armor. This is one of the easiest ways to get it. It's a decent armor. The plates are upgradable. Like you can put, I think I have an example here in my inventory. Yeah, I've got a Karun plate. I can put a Karun plate in this armor and have a class 5. There's some class 4s that'll go in there as well. So just keep that in mind that those do exist, and it's a propane tank. So it's a 2x2, ends up giving you a full piece of armor from proper. Now, Therapist, my favorite Barters here with her are the Salewas. It's a paid, anti-roach spray. It's the same size as a Salewa, but whenever I see one, I just think Salewa. And it's a great way to get one of the best meds early game that you can get your hands on. And the other one is the emergency water ration, which you can craft these after a bit, but you also find them around raid, and they might be more valuable to you as water, but they're also a barter for a Salewa, which when you're early, you know how hard it is to get a hold of meds. Meds are crazy valuable and they're expensive. So like, I think I can even buy one now. Yeah. So 61,000 rubles for a Salewa or a paid. I'm going to go with a paid. Now for Skier, he also has a level 3 armor that's pretty decent. This press vest, which upgrades with different various plates. These kind of Zuck 3 style plates will upgrade it as well. And then you can put the standard NATO plates in the back. This takes a horse and a pon-pon. Pon-pons are pretty common. You'll see them on scavs. They're easy to stand out. They're 1 slot. Horses are a little bit more rare, and they do have other value. So I wouldn't be burning through a ton of horses through this unless you absolutely need armor. But I wanted to point it out that it is here in case, maybe you have a bunch of horses around and you don't know what to do with them. Now for Peacekeeper, he's got another crazy valuable barter for people early wipe, and that is backpacks. This is the only way you can get a backpack early on, and that is with a hard drive, and he lets you do 3 per reset. You can get yourself an MBSS off of a very common barter item each time he rolls around. And I used the heck out of this for a long time. I'm kind of past it now because I can craft scav bags, which is what I pretty much do. But this is something to keep in mind, that if you're running around and you find a hard drive, think of it as a backpack, not so much as a 2-slot item that you can't really do anything with. Now, Mechanic, he's a little bit different of a story. He's got a ton of barters. A lot of his barters are geared to gunsmith. That's cool. I've got whole videos for those. But the 2 important ones I want to talk about are his elite pliers and the tool set. So the elite pliers, you need these for parts in your hideout. They can be hard to find. But 3 sets of pliers, the yellow, the nippers, and the round pliers, will give you elite pliers that you can use for some of the hideout upgrades that require those. And even some of the barters. There's some barters out there too that use them. But also the tool set. Again, these pliers, the screwdrivers, the wrenches, the tapes, the measuring tapes, this gets you this tool set, which can be kind of hard to find in raid sometimes, or maybe you don't have room for it, versus these 1 slots. For me, I come in here and I add these things to my wish list for a barter, and I just keep them on there the whole time. And as I find these, I keep them because you will need tons of tool sets, and tools are just, they're kind, I don't want to say they're rare, but it always seems like it's hard to find the one you need. So as I find them, I always tend to keep them just for this barter specifically. Now, Ragman, the most common barter that I use that I want to point out is this Untar vest. Yes, it's blue. Yes, it stands out, but it is class 3. So it's another class 3 option you have that repairs pretty well. And it's only 2 max energies. These things are all over the place. You can find them. They're easy to take out. You can even craft them eventually. And they end up being a decent source for an armor that is pretty expensive. Even, we can't buy it yet, but once you get to where you can buy it off a Peacekeeper, it's going to be pretty expensive. Now, last but absolutely not least, we have Jaeger, and this is one of the most important barters that you're going to need to worry about, and that is the CMS, and it is 3 nippers. So this is going to be your only access to CMSs until you finally can craft them at your med station, your hideout, or until you get further along with Therapist, and she also has some barters that are they're gonna be there as well. So nippers, I always take them out. Every time I see a nipper, it's always coming out. I never throw it away because of this barter. Getting CMSs is so important. Well, that's it right there. That's all the tips I have for you for now. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, because I have to imagine if you're still here, you liked the video. And I do hope that you got something out of it and it helps with your experience in this hardcore wipe, at least to make it a little bit better. But with that, we'll wrap it up. I wish you guys the best of luck in your raids, and we'll see you in Tarkov.